This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q104.3.
Jonathan Clark, we are live in the studio with the Cranberries. It's Noel Hogan and Fergal Lawler. Mike is not here, unfortunately, but next time we'll get Mike in the studio with us. Well, welcome, guys. Good to see you guys again. I'm so happy to hold this up to your fans watching right now. It's the new album. It's called In the End. It's technically, is it the 8th studio album, technically?
Yeah.
And it's coming out April 26th. So we spoke earlier this week, and I know I've told you this before, but this album is fantastic. It is really, really amazing. And I feel like if this album came out in 1993, it would be just as big as your debut album or even the second album.
Yeah. I think we feel pretty much the same way that it's probably as close to those first couple of albums that we've ever come again, because I think a lot of it's to do with the way Dolores' vocal is on this album. It's there's a softer kind of tone to her voice. A lot of that, I suppose, is because she recorded at home in one of the rooms in the house, because it was for demos initially, and when we went in to record it, we kind of very much used that as the benchmark to follow her vocal, and not kind of, you can get heavy-handed sometimes live or in the studio. But it started to take on that sound of those earlier albums, that kind of where it wasn't as aggressive. And there's a bit more space in there. But it's like those first albums, but played a lot better.
Yeah. Well, you guys have all grown, and she had grown as a lyricist and as a singer, and you guys have grown musically as well. Talk about that timeline again, because I know fans are really interested in that. When was this? Where was she? Where were you when you guys were actually making these demos?
So it began, we kind of finished up a tour a bit earlier than we should have.
2017?
17,
yeah. Okay.
We finished in May because Dolores' back was at her. She had this kind of ongoing problem. The doctor said she needed to rest for 6 months. About a week or two later, Dolores kind of got itchy feet and wanted to work, and started ringing up saying, we need to do something. We need to, we should use the time basically and write this album, or write a album, not knowing what one it would be. And that's what happened. At that time, I was actually in France, and Dolores was here in New York.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were kind of, you'd write an idea and then you'd send it to her, and then she'd send back like with a guide vocal on top of it. And this went on for a few weeks, and then took a kind of a little break for maybe, August, and then got back into it. I was back in Ireland then at this point, and kept going really up until December of that year. And that was like, a lot of this album was written during that period. There's a few songs there that Dolores had kind of had before that she had been kind of demoing herself, which is kind of the normal way we would do it. So really, when she passed away in January, then it was time to go back and revisit everything that had been done in that kind of 6-month, 7-month period.
When you were sending the demos back and forth to each other, was there ever a moment where you got to at least acknowledge her performance to her?
Yeah, well, that's why she would send it back to kind of see what your thoughts were on it. So you kind of spoke about it, in the following day or two after, kind of, because as great as she was, she would still look for the advice of others to make sure, am I going the right direction here? What do you think of that? And it was a simple thing to say, yeah, this is great, keep doing that. It was as simple as that. She just kind of looked for that sometimes. And it was great, when you listen back to it, kind of those first few listens when we started to piece the demos together, and you suddenly realise like how amazing a vocalist she was, that you have this quality of like singing on demos. Like there's singers who, release albums. A finished proper album that isn't as good as this.
Right, yeah. And I'm reminded of a story that I had read, and I think, I forget which one of you guys had recalled this story in a recent article. The very first time that Dolores sang with you guys, and sort of like auditioned, perhaps is the word. She was given a cassette of a particular song on a Sunday, and then she came back the following Sunday, and this was 1992, probably something like
1990. I'd say.
1990. Okay,
1990. Yeah.
Fergal, tell that story because it's a fascinating one.
We actually had a boombox in the rehearsal space, and that's what we would record ideas on back then. Because we had no PA or anything like that. We just plug into guitar amps.
Hey, I'm a big fan of those boom boxes. Those are great, right?
Yeah. Well, we used to be breakdancers. We came from that whole hip hop era.
Yeah.
Boom box on your shoulder thing. But Dolores' microphone we plugged into a guitar or keyboard amp, and she'd play her keyboard and then sing a few songs, and we kind of get a rough idea, and then we'd record the instrumental parts, and she'd take them away and come back the next week with, ideas for a song.
Yeah. And there was one song called Linger.
Linger, our very first song, yeah.
Well, she came back with a week later and kind of blew you guys away, right?
Totally, geez, yeah, we couldn't believe it. Sounded fantastic.
Unbelievable. Stephen Street, your longtime producer of Cranberries, also the Smiths and Morrissey, you brought him along on this project too. When you first approached him, was he hesitant, or was he like, "Let me hear it"? Or
no, we kind of he listened to it. Like, we kind of sent him the songs first and said, "Look, we're thinking of doing this, and here are the songs." It was all kind of delivered at once to him, and it was on a WhatsApp group that the four of us were on.
Oh wow!
And
I've never even tried WhatsApp. I got to do it. Everybody's on it. Yeah.
It's kind of it made it a lot easier because we could talk directly, even though we were all in different places,
parts of the world.
Yeah. And he absolutely loved what he heard, and he's great at kind of seeing the bigger picture from whatever state a demo might be in. And he was on board straight away. I mean, I think that conversation was like 10 minutes, kind of.
Wow.
And it was him then who said, "Look, one thing I would suggest is that you do this now, because it may not feel the same coming back to it in a year or whenever." Because we'd spent a bit of time getting the demos together. There was a lot of kind of emotions floating around because of everything. This was probably March.
Right, so only a couple months.
Yeah. And then the 16th of April, which is almost a year ago,
right, was
day one of recording. We were in the studio.
Wow. And you touched on it briefly right there, but I know that you spoke to Dolores' mother, her brother, that was a manager, and they were pretty much on board as well.
Yeah, because Dolores had been speaking about the new album. She was excited about doing new material for the first time since 2012, and they knew that. So when they heard that we wanted to finish what she'd started, they were delighted, really.
Right.
They kind of said,
because that's a weird thing. You have to approach it properly. You know what I mean?
Of course, you don't want to offend anyone. You don't want to be disrespectful, and that's the way we felt as well. That we had to make sure that these songs were going to be really good quality and not kind of like a half-assed attempt.
Yeah.
Milk it or something.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that they were quality songs and it was going to be a good, proper Cranberries album.
And it really is. I know it. It had to be hard to be in the studio listening to playback of her voice, in between takes, vocal takes, because you would hear her talk.
Yeah.
Like, let me take that again. I don't know what she was saying.
Can you go back to the start with that, or I'm not sure, I want to do the chorus again. Things like that.
And then I know that there's the title track is actually, is it the last song?
Yeah.
It's the last song on side 2, track 6. And you saved that one for last to sort of mix or whatever you were doing, right? Just
to record it.
To record it, yeah.
We kind of knew that would be quite an emotional moment.
Yeah.
It was the last song, and the song itself is kind of a sad, wistful song. It's kind of thinking of things about the grass is greener on the other side, and things you're going to think they're going to go one way, but they go another way, and and we kind of knew that this is the last song we'll play together as the Cranberries.
Yeah.
So it was amazing, but very emotional.
It's just bizarre how things work out, and Noel and I were just talking about this a second ago. How the album is so good, her performances were so good, despite them being demos. And then it's like you're reminded of like back when you were a young boy, you break up with a girl or she breaks up with you, and every song on the radio seems to be singing to you. You know what I mean? Or in this case, somebody passes along. You could literally turn on any song, and it would somehow
reminds you of that. Yeah.
And lyrically, what she wrote, it's just bizarrely ironic. The things that she was saying and everything that happened that afterwards. I know you guys have been approached about doing a feature-length documentary. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah. Well, it was something that we actually had kind of started ourselves a couple of years ago. And it started as an idea to talk about the first and second, up until the second album, and how, you know, we began and all that kind of thing. And we've done some interviews, and they're kind of put away in storage, really. And it was a thing we were going to get back to when we had the time. But obviously after Dolores passed away, everything changed, and now we've been approached, and we do like the idea of a documentary about the lifespan of the band. You've 30 years there of stuff that, you know, it's never been done, and someone's going to do it as well. We
Of
figured
course.
at some point. So if that's the case, we should be the ones to do it and do it properly.
With the footage, like, you already had footage, right? I
Yeah.
mean, from back in the day, like from
Yeah.
personal video cameras or like fan
There's
video.
lots of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But even just like the past 2 years, we all did individual interviews for what was going to be that documentary of the first couple of years.
Yeah.
So there's recent stuff as well as older stuff.
Right. Because I know Eric Clapton did one, and he actually solicited fans on his website and his social media. If you ever were at a Cream
Yes,
concert
yeah.
in 1968,
Mm.
please send it in. We'll give you credit and things like that. And I guess it worked out really well for him. Do you have an idea when that might come out, or hoping to come out?
No, we've taken a couple of meetings with, you know, people that do this type of thing. But we've been so busy with this. It's kind of, you meet them and then you're gone, and then your mind's gone on to something else. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, maybe in a month or so when the album's out and things quieten down a little bit, we'll start to concentrate on it a bit more.
Yeah.
And then it'll take, I don't know how long these things take, maybe 2 years, a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, take your time. I mean,
Yeah,
get it right.
exactly.
Yeah,
of
we want to do
course.
it right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's got to be weird for you guys because, you know, you've been doing this your entire adult lives. You've been writing songs, recording them, and then touring, and then no touring this
Yeah.
time. I mean, it's got to be
Especially
frustrating.
some of the songs in this album, which
Some of the
would
songs
be
are-
like rockers, because
Yeah.
when you play them live as well, they kind of evolve into this kind of heavier, more dynamic situation. Because a lot of people have come and seen us live and said, "My God, you're so dynamic live. You kind of didn't expect that."
Right.
But
You guys definitely rock out more like
yeah,
live. Yeah.
yeah. So
Um,
that's one thing you really will miss, is not
Yeah.
playing these songs live.
Has anyone like bizarrely approached you and come up with a name
like a
for a lead
hologram.
approve it? Yeah.
That's different. He's been dead a long time, isn't
Right,
he?
that's true. We're with the Cranberries. We got Noel and Fergal here. Again, the new album, The Cranberries, in the end. Which leads me to my next question. Do you guys have other musical projects that you're kind of interested in or want to do something
No.
with? Or
Like we haven't really thought a lot about it until, you know, you kind of realize how close you are to the end of this now, and you do kind of sit there wondering what's next, because we were so busy, you know, Dolores passed away, we went in to do this album, and all the things that brings with it. It's taken up a lot of our time. But now I guess you do start to think what's next, and, you know, from conversations between ourselves, it's got to be music. I mean, we've been doing this since we left school, and, you know, it's too late. to
yeah,
kinda, you know,
your
start-
career's been chosen
the
for
CV
you.
is very short. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
so,
Cranberries,
yeah,
30 years.
yeah. So I guess, look, there is a slight bit of kind of exhaustion at the moment, I think, going or starting to go around. So it'll be a case of taking the summer out and kind of having a think about what
Yeah.
does come next.
I think you guys might win a Grammy for this album. I don't know. I think it's that good, honestly.
Thank you.
You know, so good. Let's talk about this album cover. And I know we can't really say who they are, but there are 4 children on here. So the normal person seeing this in a record store might, oh, I didn't know they were a band when they were 8 years old, you know?
Yeah.
But it is not you guys. But just talk about the album cover. I don't know if you can say
Yeah.
who that is, but
They're all relatives of each member of the band. And yeah, when it came to the cover and the videos and stuff like that, that was a real conundrum. It was like, what are we going to do? Oh my God, you know, we can't use old footage because it's new material, you know. And we had a conversation with Callie, our art designer, who worked with us for the first 3 albums and the last album as well as this. And he said, you know, what would be great to get kids that are related to you because it's kind of like you when you were younger, but also the new generation of Cranberries fans that are coming up and starting bands and stuff like that. So we kind of said, yeah, brilliant. Great idea.
It's a great album cover. Talk about the song that that I've been playing on this show. It's All Over Now. Again, bizarrely ironic, the lyrics and everything, and the hotel in London and things like that. But the video is really, really cool and well done. It's a tearjerker at the end.
Yeah.
But it's an animated video.
Yeah. Again, it was a case of what do you do? It was kind of we finished the album, which we thought was going to be the really hard part. Then you start to think about album covers, artwork, videos, and we were kind of coming up with no ideas. The only thing we did know is we didn't want to be on any of the covers. We didn't want to be in the videos, anything like that. So we just we sat down with the record company and started throwing the ideas around about animation or having actors in the video. So they suggested this animator that they sent us a couple of snippets of things he had done. And then they sent him a bit of the track, and he sent us on a very, very rough kind of 10-15 second thing. And it looked great even at that point. So we were like, great, let's go with that. And then, it was actually Fergal had a kind of a rough idea for a kind of storyline for it. And it just evolved from there over the kind of the Christmas period just gone.
It's so good. And another track I really love, which kind of reminds me of Zombie a little bit. I mean, just, I don't know what part, not song structure or anything like that, but just, the choruses that you guys came up with all the big Cranberries songs. This is one of those songs. Wake Me When It's Over, and tell us about that one.
Yeah, this is actually a song that the first time I heard it, we were rehearsing for the Something Else tour, the acoustic tour we were doing. And we were playing all older songs and that. And, when that starts to happen, you kind of start thinking, maybe it'd be nice to play some new stuff. So Noel was playing some ideas, and then Dolores came in one day and said, I have an idea for a song. And she started playing Wake Me When It's Over or whatever. And it was like, geez, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And it kind of developed into this almost zombie-esque kind of thing as time went on.
Yeah.
But the chorus is just one of those uplifting.
Yeah,
and that's one of the killer ones that would be amazing live.
Right. I mean, and that's
that in the studio was
that
going.
That chorus just lands in your brain. It does not go away. You'll be singing it in the shower like every morning. We are with the Cranberries. It's Noel and Fergal. The new album, In the End. It's the 8th studio album from the band, out April 26th. Tell me a funny story about Dolores, if one comes to mind.
It's funny, like you start to remember a lot of the kind of things from the early days. But the thing I started remembering a lot, like a lot of people obviously who wouldn't have been close to her wouldn't know about, she had this great sense of humour. And like it was great to go to an awards thing with her or something because she hated them. She couldn't take them serious at all. Like she'd play the whole part and everything, but like, some guy come in kind of over the top, kind of,
shocking. Somebody's like that in the music industry?
Yeah. And she'd just go, oh God, look at the state of this guy. Or, it was kind of just, you'd be in hysterics like at her. And that's kind of all the memories that come back is all those fun times with her. Because you never knew what she'd come out with. She just kind of, the filter didn't work a lot of the time, so she was like to say anything to anyone.
Right. I remember the last time you were here, you were with Dolores, and you recalled some stories of being. I think, did you guys do a gig with AC/DC or something?
That's right.
Yeah.
And she loved that. She thought that was Rolling Stones, I think, as well, right?
That's right. Yeah. And she befriended the singer from AC/DC. They used to go
Brian
dinner.
Johnson from Newcastle.
They became good friends, and they used to go out to dinner together. God only knows what those conversations were like.
Oh my God, fantastic.
Yeah.
To be a fly on the wall, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, listen, guys, great to see you guys again.
Thanks,
and I can speak for myself, and I'm pretty sure every single Cranberry fan in the world, there's probably 40 million of them at least. We're so glad that you put this out.
Thank you.
You did such a fantastic job with this. And I think it might be the best Cranberries album ever. So congrats, guys.
Thank you.
And,
cheers.
I hope to see you back here soon doing whatever. I don't care.
Cheers. Thank you.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q1043.